Welcome to the penultimate round of the St. Louis Rapid 2025. We have the World Champion Gukesh taking on one of the most solid and experienced grandmasters in the world of chess, Wesley So. Now, Gukesh has had a tough previous game. He lost to Lenier Dominguez from an equal position where Gukesh tried to overpress. He wanted to win at all costs, and Dominguez was super solid. Now, Gukesh is not doing so well in this tournament, but if he manages to win this game and the final game with Fabiano Caruana, it can change everything. But to beat Wesley with black is so difficult. Even Magnus Carlsen has struggled doing that in the past because of how good Wesley is. The players are getting ready for the game. It's 25 minutes plus 10 seconds increment, and after this they will play 18 games of blitz as well in the next 2 days. But for now, all focus on this game, a handshake, and we are ready to go. Wesley opens the game with e4. We have e5, knight comes out to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4. He goes bishop c5. Playing the Italian game is Gukesh. Wesley castles here, and knight comes out to f6, attacking the pawn on e4, d3, defending it. The Italian is such a complex opening at the highest level. A lot of nuances that these top players know. a6, you could also go a5, making square for the bishop, but Gukesh prefers a6. And Wesley So plays his rook to e1. Well, the pawn on f2 is a bit soft here, but d4 is on the cards because the e4 pawn is a bit weak. Castles here by Gukesh. He's open to bishop g5 coming in, which could be a very interesting move. h3 played by Wesley, a useful move, just taking into control the g4 square from the knight and the bishop. Gukesh plays his bishop back to a7, and now pawn comes up to a4. He's gaining space on the queen side here. And h6 played by black. So these are preparatory moves. Knight comes to d2. A big plan, of course, in such positions is knight f1 to g3. Gukesh goes rook e8, preparing bishop e6 to trade off the bishops. Wesley goes b4, gaining space on the queen side. And now Gukesh goes queen to e7. Again, a useful move. Maybe bishop e6 is more common, but queen e7, he's preparing bishop e6, wants to take with the queen. Rook b1. The idea is to go b5 here to gain space on the queen side. Bishop e6, offering bishops for trade. b5 played here, attacking the queen side. A question to Gukesh is, should he take the pawn on b5? He takes it, and now if pawn takes, he wants to play his knight back to d8 or to b8, d7, c5. Instead, he takes with the rook, attacking the pawn on b7. And this rook is active, but notice, guys, that the a4 pawn has been weakened. Knight d7, I love this move because if rook takes b7, bishop b6 could potentially trap the rook there. So Wesley plays it safe. He goes queen c2. And what's Gukesh going to do now? 17 minutes for Wesley, 19 minutes for Gukesh. He goes bishop to b6. The idea is to put pressure on the a4 pawn. Bishop takes e6, queen takes, and now I love this move, knight c4, putting pressure here on the bishop, and Gukesh cannot really move it because then there's pressure on b7, so he plays rook a6, doing two things. One, defending b6, the other, preparing rook a8 to put pressure on the a4 pawn. Knight takes on b6, and now you can take back with the knight, but the problem is bishop e3. Attacking here, and if you take on a4, I have b7 hanging. So he takes cb6. Now these pawns are doubled and they are not very ideally placed, these pawns. But maybe what Gukesh recognizes is that he can now freely put pressure on a4. That's a very bold decision, I must say, by Gukesh to take up such a structure. He goes rook a8, a4 under pressure. You may want to save it as Wesley So, because if he manages to save the a4 pawn, he has a plan now with knight d2, knight c4. Knight goes back to e7. I don't know if Gukesh wants to go knight c8 back. I love this move d4, but instead Wesley goes rook b8. That's an interesting choice because you are giving up the a4 pawn here. And Gukesh chops it off. Rook takes a4, bishop takes b6. Takes here. And what Wesley is thinking is that, yes, the material is even, but now the b7 pawn is much more weak, and Gukesh is like, Wesley, take the pawn. I'm not going to spend time defending it. What I'm doing is I'm coming in with my knight. My rooks are active here. My queen can swing over. So Wesley takes the pawn and he tells Gukesh that I'm not really concerned here with your attack. Knight f4. Now to kick the knight away is tough because g3, then the h3 pawn falls. So the knight kind of sits there. King h2. Maybe prepare, if queen g6, then you can prepare g3. Wesley gets up. He has 11 minutes, 49 seconds. Gukesh has 9 minutes. You can see him closing his eyes, trying to concentrate there. He goes rook a2. And trying to attack the queen and the pawn on f2 there. And you can come back with the rook from 7 to b2. And that would kind of ensure trade of one pair of rooks. Yes, Wesley does it. He comes back rook b2. Gukesh takes, rook takes b2. You can't take with the queen because d3 is hanging. So he takes back with the rook. And now a very nice move here can be rook a1. Yes, rook comes into a1, controlling the last rank. If you come rook b1, I'll go rook a2. If you come up, I'll take, queen takes, and the d3 pawn falls. So it's not like a draw here. It's still like both players are ambitious. Knight h4. Wesley wants to come to f5, and rightly so. His knight was not doing much on the f3 square, and coming to f5 might be a good decision. g6, just stopping the knight, played by Gukesh. Wow. He stops the knight from coming forward. But now Wesley can come back with his knight because now the queen can no longer go to the g6 square. He comes back. Knight to f3. Gukesh is a pawn down. But you don't feel it right now because black has the activity here. And Gukesh is patient. He goes king g7, improving because later on a check will not come here. His king is safer on the g7 square. How is Wesley continuing here is the question. He goes knight to g1, a very interesting move. He wants to play knight e2 to trade the knights. With every piece going by, Wesley's chances grow because he's a pawn up, queen c8. I love this move because if knight e2, I can take and play queen takes c3. And as Wesley, you want to cling on to that extra pawn. g3, kicking the knight away. The knight goes back to e6. And now be careful. Very careful because knight g5 could attack h3. Look at the f3 square. It could be very good. He goes knight to f3, improving the position of his knight. Queen a6 played. Another crazy move by Gukesh. Eyeing the d3 square. He wants to bring his knight in to put more pressure. It's amazing how Gukesh is finding ways to be active. Queen e2. Wesley maintaining the balance. Of course, he's a world-class GM. He's not going to collapse instantly. He will fight till the bitter end. Queen a3 played. Now the c3 pawn is under pressure. And you need to defend it. Queen c2 coming back. Seems like the only move. Now Gukesh can go back to a6, offering a draw. But maybe Gukesh doesn't have draw on his mind. He wants to fight here. And for that, maybe knight c5. Yes, knight takes d3 threat. Queen takes d3. Queen takes b2 is hanging. Wesley comes back, knight d2. And his point is if you take knight d3, I have knight c4. Attacking here, it's still a crazy line with knight e1. And all of these moves. With a draw there. Look at this. Knight c4, knight e1, knight a3, knight f3 check, king g1, knight e1 draw. What a line. But instead he goes queen a6. Gukesh is like, I don't want that pawn. I'm going to attack it with my queen. Knight c4, a mistake. He had to play knight b3. But now knight takes e4. Because if pawn takes, c4 knight is hanging. Can Gukesh find it? Not so easy here. With 46 seconds, Wesley has 2 minutes 43 seconds. And look at Gukesh there. He senses it. This is the thing about Gukesh. Whenever he gets a chance, he senses it. His body language changes. The knight takes e4, taken here. And of course, taking here leads you into a very unfortunate position where you have a weakness on c3, e4 pawn is weak. So he jumps in with rook b6, but queen c8. Again, taking here is met with queen takes c4. And then you are entering in here. So he goes h4, trying to prevent knight g5. But now rook e1 is a super strong move. It's a very, very powerful move. Just improving the position of your rook there. Very tough to find. The other move is just to drop your knight back to f6. I think that's much better. And Gukesh is running short of time here. Can he find rook e? Oh my god. No, he goes knight f6. The second best move in the position. Not easy. It was not easy to find rook e1. Knight takes d6. Wesley captures the pawn, but he misses the point. There is knight g4 check. It's not so simple. There's also queen c5. Both moves are super strong. And with 20 seconds on the clock and just 10 seconds increment, Gukesh finds it. Queen c5 on the board. And now, how do you protect your rook? Maybe queen b2 to protect the rook and also to attack it here. He goes queen b2. And Wesley now has 1.5 minutes. But guys, knight g4 is winning. It's completely winning. Knight g4 check. If king h3, there's knight f2 and I win your rook. So he goes king g2 and rightly so. That's a good move. But now queen d5 check. He finds it. Gukesh finding all the best moves. If f3, there's knight e3 check getting in. And that's completely winning because rook a2 will be coming in. Queen f3 would be hanging. He goes knight e4. And now rook a2. What a move. f2 is falling. And Wesley So is utterly lost. With 1.5 minutes on the clock. He thinks about his move for 30 seconds. Goes queen b5. Offering a trade, but now rook takes f2. He chops the pawn, king h3. And now, guys, there is an insane move. h5, giving up the queen, because if queen takes d5, rook h2 is a mate. Can Gukesh find it with 36 seconds on the clock? Not at all easy for Gukesh to spot it. Hawkeye, look at him there. He sees it. And if he doesn't find it, queen a2 is another move. But h5 is by far the best move in the position. He's already sacrificed queen once in this tournament. Can he do it again? Finds it. h5. Let's go. What a move here by Gukesh. Queen takes d5. Rook h2 checkmate. And that's incredible. He takes on g6. Here, even taking the rook was a mate because knight f2 and queen h1 is a mate. So he takes rook takes g6. Gukesh chops off the rook and Wesley resigns. What a game this was by Domaraju Gukesh. Beating Wesley So is never easy, and look at Wesley So's sportsmanship. Gukesh is like, you could have just repeated and maybe it's a draw there, but Wesley was also ambitious at some point. Gukesh, super ambitious, and really an amazing moment. I must say that Gukesh's will to win here was immense, and he kept posing Wesley So with problems towards the end. The American GM made some critical errors, but it was not easy to find all the winning tactics, but he managed to, and that was the beauty of it. I also love how Wesley has taken this defeat in his stride. He knows that there was some incredible play by Gukesh at the end, and that is what Gukesh is very good at in these games where time runs low and he's better. He's able to finish off his opponent very well. And with this win, Gukesh gets to 8 points in the tournament, which is a pretty good score. And by the way, the analysis session is now done. And they are still analyzing. I love how Gukesh is also interested in analyzing with Wesley. I must say to all the viewers here, if there's a gentleman in chess world out there who's kind, who's wonderful, it is Wesley So. He is such a wonderful personality. And you can see it through his every action. He's down to earth, and he's made the country of Philippines proud. He was representing it for many years, now plays for the US flag. And the pieces come back to the board, and Gukesh does what he always does, be it world championship, be it small event, be it anything. He puts back his pieces, will touch the board in respect there. And Gukesh, what a game.